Today you guys are going to learn how to find the volume of a cylinder. So let's go ahead and start with our equation that we should know. Our equation for the volume of a cylinder is the volume is equal to pi r squared times height. Now, the way we get that is pi r squared is the area of our base, which is a circle, times the height, which makes it now a 3D figure. So we're going to use this and also use 3.144 pi whenever we do our mathematics. So we really just need two things to find the volume. We need our radius, which is halfway across the circle, and our height. So the first thing we're going to do is look in this first example. It says find the volume or the height of the cylinder and round your answer to the nearest tenth, so 2 decimal places. So it looks like here we already have our height, so we're actually going to find our volume. What I like to do is, because you are going to memorize this formula, I like to write it down a few times. So volume equals pi r squared times height. So let's find our different variables. So it looks like our height here is going to be 6 meters. And then our radius, which is halfway across the circle, is going to be 3. So we're just going to plug it all in. So we have volume equals pi times our radius squared, which is 3 squared, times our height, which is 6. So we're going to start simplifying this using order of operations. We go ahead and do the exponent first. So we have pi times 3 squared, which is 9, times 6. Now, instead of pi, we are using 3.14, so we're just going to go ahead and multiply 3.14 times 9, and we get 28.26 times 6. And so our last bit, we're going to go ahead and multiply that by 6, and we get 169.56. And don't forget, we have to label, it's going to be meters cubed. I like to remember that the volume is cubed because it's a 3-dimensional figure. So you put a 3 or the cube there. So that's our first example. We just plug and chug. Now the next one, it says find the volume or the height of the cylinder. Then again, round your answer to the nearest tenth. This time we're given the volume. We're going to be finding the height this time. So what I do first is I do write my equation. So volume equals pi r squared times height. And now we just have to plug in what we know. So we know that the volume is 314. Now, what we're given here is a distance all the way across the circle. That is your diameter. Our radius is half of that, so it's 5. So we're just going to plug in what we know. So our volume is 314 equals pi times our radius squared, which is 5 squared, times height. So we're going to have to simplify this equation and isolate h, our height, to find it. So we're going to start simplifying. 5 squared is 25, so we're going to do pi times 25 times height. Now what we need to do is combine what we can and then get it away from h. So we're going to do 3.14. Remember, that's what we plug in every time for pi. And when we multiply that by 25, we get 78.5. Now we just have a one-step equation. 78.5 is multiplying to the height, so we have to do the inverse operation, which is dividing. So we're going to divide both sides by 78.5. And when we do that, we have 314 divided by that. We end up getting 4 as our height. Now our label of that is just inches. It's a one-dimensional thing. It's just 4 as our height. And that's our answer. Go ahead and try the next two on your own. In the first one, you're going to find the volume, and in the second example, you're going to find your height. Check back to see if your answers are correct. All right, so what I got was 753 6/10 feet squared for our volume, and then our height that we got, I had to round it to 3.5 just centimeters. So what I want you guys to realize is it's always cubed when we're talking about volume. And when it's just talking about height or the radius, it's straight up just the unit. We don't have to put any cube or square or anything to that. Now we're going to work with our word problem. It says, in this cylinder, how much salsa is missing from the jar? So we have all of these items that we need. So if we're talking about missing from the jar, guys, we are just talking about this section of the cylinder. So if we're talking about that, we know that it's filled to 4 centimeters and the whole entire height of the jar is 10. So we can kind of fill this in that the height here is going to be 6 centimeters. So we're given the radius, which is 5. I'm going to write that out. And the height we just figured is 6. So we're going to plug that into our equation of volume equals pi r squared times height. Make sure that you guys keep writing down the equation. It's going to help you memorize it a little more. All right, so let's go ahead and plug in what we know. So we have that volume equals pi 5 squared times 6 is our height. We're going to do the exponent first. So we have pi times 25 times 6. Pi 3.14 times 25 is 78.6, and then you multiply that by 6, and, it's 78.5, just caught that, times 6. So when we go ahead and multiply that, we get 471 cubic centimeters that is missing from the jar. So we are now going to figure out if the height of the jar is 5 centimeters instead of 10, now how much salsa is missing from the jar? So let's make believe that if we redrew this whole cylinder, okay, there's still, when we fill in the salsa, we still have 4 centimeters, but the entire height of it is 5. So it's the same dimensions. We still have our radius of 5 centimeters. So go ahead, and what you guys are going to do is you're going to find how much this missing height is and find out what the volume is. Bring it back with your answer and see if you're correct. All right, you guys should have gotten 78 and 5/10 cubic centimeters as your total volume of that missing salsa part of your cylinder. In this example, we're going to see how many gallons of water fit into this water cooler. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the volume, and then it says for every cubic foot, it fits 7.5 gallons of water. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the volume, and then you're going to multiply it by 7.5 to find out how much water exactly fits inside of it. So use the dimensions off to the side, find out the volume, and then multiply it by 7.5. Check back to see what your answers are. All right, so when I found the volume of this water gallon, I had the radius was 0.5 feet. Because they gave you the diameter, so it was your radius, and your height was 1.7. When I went ahead and did the math, I got this long decimal for our volume. So I actually kept it and multiplied it by 7.5 gallons. You guys could have rounded it, that is fine. I got around 10 gallons when I did not round the answer. So that's what you guys should have gotten. So go ahead and try the next one on your own. It says that you have a water tower that's 15 meters of diameter. Think about what that means. And then a height of 5 meters. So it says how many gallons of water does the tower contain? And this time, after you find your volume, you're going to multiply it by 264 gallons because we're talking about meters instead of feet from the previous problem. So it's larger amounts of water, larger amounts of volume. So go ahead, find the volume, multiply it by 2.64 to find out how much water is going to fit in this tower. Check back to see your answers. You guys should have gotten a volume of 883.125 meters cubed, and then when I went ahead and multiplied it by 264 gallons, I found that it fits 233,145 gallons of water. That is a lot for this water tower.